Welcome to a special collaboration between ABQ UFOs and the Vancouver Preparing for ET Contact Meetup. Join Brian Rue and Bertie Jaworski as they discuss remote viewing and its fascinating possibilities.
Welcome to Preparing for ET Contact in University of Galactus. This is June the 15th, 2024. Our guest today is Bertie. She's a celebrated remote viewer, beekeeper, digital forensic expert, and cryptocurrency guru. Bertie has used her remote viewing talents to solve missing person cases, aid law enforcement, and predict major market shifts. She's also an avid UFO experiencer and leads the Albuquerque UFO UAP Exploration's most active UFO meetup group in America. And I have this short video of Bertie that she's made. This is Bertie.
Hi, I'm Bertie. I'm the organizer for Albuquerque UFO UAP Explorations. I'm a mom, a grandmother, a writer, a digital forensics and cryptocurrency expert, and a beekeeper. And for a while, I was the most famous remote viewer on the planet. It all started back in 1995 when something on the news caught my eye. A short man with a blonde page boy haircut stared into a reporter's eyes and said yes. He was a psychic spy trained by the United States government to capture snapshots of classified targets using only the power of his mind. The government admitted to spending over $20 million in taxpayer dollars for a program called Stargate, which studied psychic abilities in soldiers with the hope that they could essentially build a psychic spy. Now that the original group of remote viewers, like the man on the news, had reached retirement age, the program was closed and declassified. The official line was that the program garnered mixed results, some absolutely incredible mind-blowing intelligence, but not enough to continue pouring money into the work. Unofficially, the project continued under a new name in management, a black budget abyss. The man's next words grabbed my arm and pulled hard, and I could train you to do the same. Anyone can learn. This man, Major Ed Dames, had been training a civilian, an academic who taught at Emory University, Dr. Courtney Brown. Brown would go on to write a New York Times best-selling account of his experiences remote viewing aliens, Cosmic Voyage. Brown launched a school in the months after Stargate was declassified, the Farsight Institute, to train others to remote view with an emphasis on alien communication. He charged over $3,000 to learn these unbelievable skills, and I was broke and pregnant with my last child. I bartered computer skills for a seat in one of the first classes. I was one of the first civilian remote viewers and the very first pregnant person to ever learn how to remote view. I quickly became known as a remote viewing prodigy and over time became second in command at Farsight, the vice president. I left to form my own school using modified remote viewing methods I knew would garner better results. My business would employ multiple remote viewers from across the world, all remote viewers that I had trained. We successfully worked on missing persons cases, unsolved murders, missing treasure, and were even hired by hedge funds to help massage their portfolios. In 2001, all hell broke loose. The Twin Towers in New York City were attacked. A prediction I had posted on the internet on our website as part of a larger project quickly started making news rounds. In 1998, several years before 9/11, I had drawn and described the attack. New York Magazine published a profile on me. The London Sunday Times sent reporters and photographers to take my remote viewing class. One of the reporters broke down crying during a session when he realized he was experiencing the emotions of the people at the blind target. I was featured on television shows of all kinds, from the Learning Channel to CBS Sunday Morning. Even women's magazine Cosmopolitan sent a reporter to take my class. You might have seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, starring George Clooney. It was based on a book by British journalist John Ronson. Chapter 6 in the book, it's about me. I have so many crazy stories from my public days in remote viewing. I eventually walked away from public life after increasing resistance from the government and wandered the world doing other things. But I kept remote viewing privately and researching and discovering how to best maximize my own remote viewing potential. And now I'm here in Albuquerque about to teach you.
Okay, I'll stop the share screen.
There you go, everybody. That's my crazy background in remote viewing. I have been remote viewing for 27 years. I remote view literally every single day. There's only been a handful of days that I've ever missed. And I've developed my own protocols since then that are extremely immersive, involve 3D modeling, all kinds of interesting things. And so at the end of this, if you guys are interested in getting a taste of remote viewing, I did do a 3-hour online class for my group, Albuquerque UFO UAP Explorations. And I am so happy to send you the link to that class. It's not publicly available. It's a private link. You can watch it totally for free. Just email me, Birdie at abqufos.com. And I'll remind everybody at the end. You can watch that. And then this August, I'm doing a 5-day intensive. If you're interested in that, let me know.
Okay, so where would you like to go next, Birdie? You can teach us to be expert remote viewers.
Yeah, everybody. Okay, one thing that people often get wrong, they think that only certain people can remote. I mean, you have to get over the whole belief that you can remote view it all, right? There are a lot of skeptics out there that do not think that we have this potential. But if you think about it, we all have these little moments in life, moments when you think about your sister, say, and then the phone rings and it's your sister, or you're walking down the street and you feel someone's eyes on you. You turn around and someone is staring at you. We all have these moments over and over throughout our lives. That's just our natural remote viewing ability popping through at times. Usually it happens under moments of intense pressure or stress or big change in your life. That's when it really becomes apparent. But we can all learn how to remote view literally anything, anytime, any place, past, present, or future. And we'll talk about future a little later. You can remote view things that are on this planet. You can remote view things that are not on this planet, other civilizations in our galaxy or in other galaxies. You can even remote view things in other universes. And everyone can learn. I have taught literally thousands of people all over the world. I've taught in Japan and in Australia. I have taught in London. I mean, you name it, I've been there teaching remote viewing. And every single person, even the most skeptic, even the ones who felt like they were a psychic brick and I couldn't crack them, they were cracked. Everyone had amazing, incredible remote viewing experiences. And it's easy to learn. The big key is to learn how to quiet your mind and allow the information to come through. It's not a tricky process. Now, the government developed this whole series of remote viewing protocols. They started with a psychic named Ingo Swann. He has since passed on. He was an absolutely brilliant times a million man. He was an artist. Super incredible guy. I've met him multiple times before he passed on some years ago now. And he and I were friends. And he was a natural psychic and was known for being a natural psychic, just someone who's good at it off the bat. And he was the first person who described how anyone could remote view. And he started by showing people that we have this ability. It's natural in our bodies, and our bodies want to let this information out. And he showed how the military could do it. They hired him, and then they hired a number, well, didn't hire, they forced them because they were all in the military, number of, and they were all men at the beginning. And then there were a few other women that were involved later. But these men learned how to travel using just their minds. And they came up with this strict protocol system that keeps your left brain busy. Your left brain is the rational part of your brain that likes order, that likes to understand things, that's skeptical. And it allows your right brain, which is your creative, intuitive side, to pop forth. So your left brain is kept busy by doing all of these exercises on a piece of paper, and your right brain is allowed to write this information out. And that's how remote viewing started. The protocols were called CRV, controlled remote viewing. And there are a number of instructors out there who will teach CRV. It is the most prevalent form of remote viewing protocols out there. Courtney Brown kind of massaged the protocols a little bit. I mean, he didn't change very much about it. He just changed some of the nomenclature, and he called his SRV for scientific remote viewing. And some of the other instructors out there have their own methods, but they all kind of follow the same pattern. And if you watch my video, my 3-hour video, which I'll give you guys the link to later, that is kind of a modified version of controlled remote viewing. But what I do now is very different, and is kind of based on the work of Ian McGilchrist, who everybody here should look up. He's an amazing, brilliant, one of the most brilliant minds on the planet right now, scientist, and he studies the hemispheres of the brain. And so I have modeled all of my new remote viewing protocols on his work, and how the right and left hemispheres work or don't work together. So I don't know, what would people like to know about? I've remote viewed everything. Let me tell you, I have remote viewed boring stuff like Mount Rushmore, Niagara Falls. Everybody gets those when they're first learning. I've remote viewed all kinds of interesting events, Princess Diana's car crash, you name it. I've remote viewed it if it's something that you've heard about, the Roman Colosseum at the time when it was most active. Super cool stuff. The cool thing about remote viewing is you don't just describe and draw what's there. You feel it, you smell it, you can touch it, you see all the colors, you can literally read the minds of any person there. And it is such an exhilarating feeling. And when you have a full experience where you're there, you feel like you're physically there, that's called bilocation. And when I teach a full 5-day class, I absolutely guarantee you will have a bilocation experience. One of the students that I taught, and this was years ago in California, his name was Jim. He was one of those psychic brick kind of skeptical guys. He really didn't think he could learn it, and he was having a tough time with it. He just wouldn't let his mind go. He was struggling, saying, I can't do this. And he was complaining about his results every session. And I decided I need to give him a wake-up call. So I gave him, and when you're learning, everything you do is blind, which means you don't know what you're viewing, but the person giving you that target knows what it is. So, or maybe they don't, maybe it's double blind and it's in an envelope that somebody else prepared somewhere along the way. So he didn't know what he was going to view. And I gave him, this is horrible. I do not do this with new students generally, but this man needed a wake-up call. So I gave him the firebombing at Dresden, Germany during World War II, which is an absolutely horrible event where the bombing was so intense, it created these tornadoes of fire. It destroyed so many beautiful pieces of artwork, not to mention, I don't even know how many people killed. It was an absolutely horrific event, but I gave that to him to view. Poor guy. And within 20 minutes, he literally felt that his skin was on fire. He got up and he was screaming and running in circles. And this was in my house. I had a special remote viewing class at my house, and he ran out of my house and into the backyard screaming. And ever since then, he became one of my very best of all time remote viewers. That kind of broke it open. That was a bilocation experience. But, I was young, you got to remember I was in my early 30s at that time, and kind of more of a whimsical free for all kind of person. Today, I'm a little more measured in what I give new students. I would not give anyone here anything like that, anything scary or awful or terrible. I'm older and wiser, as they say, but I was young and dumb then. So anyway, anyone have any questions or anything else you want me to talk about?
Yeah, we could use the hand feature at the bottom where it says reactions, raise hands. We could do that. But I can start off, Bertie, with
go for it.
University of Galactic. See our logo here. We have these
awesome
huge motherships. There's believed to be these huge 200-mile motherships that are above orbit. So I have a women wanting to sort of remote view or bilocate to visit the ETs there, like the Greys, the Mantis. And I did some videos with Paul Elder. He's one of Canada's best known remote viewers. And he was saying it's in many cases it's up to the ETs. They might not allow people to remote view onto their craft. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Do you want to comment on that? I mean,
okay. There is some truth to that. Not all ET civilizations are like this, but the ones that have highly developed telepathic processes, the ones who can read your mind, the ones that we hear about during abduction experiences, say where you hear their voices, hear a voice in your mind, that kind of a thing. They do have the ability to block you. And one of the things I will be teaching in the 5-day class is how to address those blocks, because you actually can get past them. I've developed ways to get past those blocks so that you can still have that experience. It might be a little scary, but when you remote view an alien civilization, if they're a telepathic species across the board, immediately they know that you're remote viewing them. They know 100%, and they will address you. They will start talking to you, and you will have a conversation. And they will give you all kinds of information. I sometimes call it thought balls. I wrote a book about my experiences at remote viewing aliens and having a particular set of encounters with one particular alien. And during those encounters, I would get what I would call a thought ball, because it was one big concrete piece of information that it would take me days or weeks or even months to unravel. They would give you this big, huge package all wrapped up in a bow right in your head. Very common for remote viewing ETs, but you can get around those blocks. I have only had one situation when I was completely blocked. And this was really interesting. This was when I was doing a big project, and a lot of the remote viewers in my employ at that time, these are all paid remote viewers that I had trained. I was doing a big project on where the universe came from. How did we come to be? The whole universe in general. Were we created by something? Was there something, is there a higher power? Is there a God or a divine presence that created us? And that was so tough, because there was something, and that something did block. But it wasn't a block like with aliens where they're just not happy that you're probing into their existence and into their thoughts. This was a block where every remote viewer was receiving the same information, literally the same language. You are not to know this. This is not something that you are to know in this lifetime. And we all received that same message. I did multiple times, and I tried everything I could to get around it and never could. So that's the only remote viewing situation that I had that I was truly blocked.
Yeah, because that's something I've been doing, like in guided meditations, trying to go to the craft and sort of visualize ETs and get into that. Just to give people our website is universitygalacticus.org. So yeah, I really appreciate your answer, Bertie. Yeah. So
yeah, Brian's website, I'm pointing in the wrong direction.
Oh yeah.
Over there. is super cool. You've got to check it out. I'm very excited with what he's doing. He's putting together this amazing university where people can learn and study everything about ET civilizations and their interactions with us and what's happening in that whole realm. It's very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
Good job, Ryan.
Thanks. So we got some hands up. Marto, I think it's Martin in Australia. It's 3:30 in the morning. Paula's got her hand up. I see, but you don't know. Okay, so Marto and then Paula and then Sabrina. So you want to go first, Martin?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Bertie, did you end up saying what you normally do when you get a block? How do you get past that block?
I did not say. There's a particular set of, I'll call them protocols. I hate that word, honestly. And when I teach remote viewing, I don't use any of the militaristic patriarchal language. It's more open, inviting, more feminine. This comes from my experience as a woman on this planet, but I think that it's more important to delve into that kind of feminine side, that opening, welcoming side. But generally, what I do when you feel a block is you accept the block and you let the aliens, if this is who's blocking you, say, you let them know, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to allow you to have this block. And let's start slow. Can you tell me something small? And usually you will get something small back. And you keep building on this until that block fades away. Oftentimes, I think it's just that exuberant human energy pressing forward, wanting to know everything, that's overwhelming for some other kinds of beings who have a more a less emotionally charged attitude, because we're very emotional as human beings on this planet. A lot of different alien civilizations don't have the same emotions that we do. They have different emotions that are very hard to describe. They do have emotions that people say, say the Greys, for example, are emotionless. That's not true. They actually have a full complement of emotions. They just do not mimic our emotions here. And so if you allow yourself to reduce that emotional component and just ask one simple question at a time, that block almost always fades. And there are other techniques you can use, but that's one of the ones I use, if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, and Paula next. You can unmute.
Hi, Bertie. What you're
Hi,
teaching is absolutely fascinating to me. It's interesting because my left brain loves to go into overtime, but I do know my right brain is very active and powerful also, yet it doesn't take center stage. My question is in regards to remote viewing, and is it somehow, or the ability, is it somehow related or interconnected with quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT?
Okay. I do teach, as part of when I teach remote viewing, I do teach remote healing. It's very similar to quantum healing. I am very familiar with that. I've taken a few classes in that. Remote healing is a little bit different, but you are able to literally heal, diagnose. Diagnosis is particularly powerful using remote viewing. It's incredibly powerful. In fact, that I'll tell you the story after I finish answering this question, because it's fascinating. It's how I got a big job. But remote healing, you start with your diagnosis, and then you focus on the areas that need to be healed. But you also recognize the holistic person, because sometimes what's causing an ailment isn't necessarily all of the physical things that are happening in the body. There can be a spiritual component, there can be an emotional component. It's usually a combination of things, right? And remote healing that we use in remote viewing, I actually gave a couple of lectures on this at the International UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada. This was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, on remote healing. But it is similar, that you can definitely do this in remote viewing. I don't know if that answers your question. It's a little different.
Yeah, I think my question was more geared toward, is it the same? Is an individual tapping into the same wavelength that is used in quantum,
No.
in remote
Well,
viewing?
I think these things are all on a continuum, but with remote viewing, when you're doing remote healing, you are literally there you literally are, you become that person's body. You experience that person's body as if it were your own, and you can feel and sense and see and smell. Smells are very important in this somehow. There's a lot of, cancer smells a certain way. It's really interesting. Parkinson's smells a certain way. Remote viewers who do remote healing learn to recognize these signals. It's super interesting. So you become the person's body, and you experience what they're experiencing. So it's a little different, but I do think that all of these healing modalities, whether it's Reiki, quantum healing, I mean, there's a bunch of them, they do operate on a continuum. It's a very similar process, but with remote healing, you become that person. You literally bilocate and you are that person for all intents and purposes. Yeah.
That could be interesting if someone tries to tap into an ET to feel what they're feeling.
Yes. And this is what you do when you want to know what it's like to be an ET. This is something I give students all the time, is pick an ET. And I always try to pick somebody who's pretty nice out there. You don't want to pick one of your evil reptilian overlords, say. Pick somebody who's a little more basic, or a nicer ET, or a neutral, I'll say neutral ET. And you literally become that ET. You can hear how they think, which is so different from how we think, feel their emotions. This is how we know that they do have very strong emotions. They just don't present or even, they're not even equivalent to our emotions. They don't have anger, say, or fear in the same way that we do. They have different kinds of emotions that are very hard to describe. And yeah, you can become anything in remote viewing. And one thing I did teach, I'm not going to say who it is because I had to sign an NDA for this, but I did teach an Olympic athlete who has won multiple gold medals. That's all I'm going to say. Remote viewing. And this person wanted to become the best of their particular sport. They wanted to become the absolute best. They absolutely did. And what I did was I identified myself, going back in remote viewing, the best in this particular sport or related areas. I can't say too much because it would give it away, but I found people in the past that I identified through remote viewing who had the attributes that this athlete needed. And I had him remote view these particular individuals so he could see what it feels like to have these particular attributes, whether it was a stronger muscles in some area, or breathing, or what, eyesight, what have you. That so you can absolutely take on the intelligence of an extraterrestrial, or even Einstein. This is a really interesting case. So I have given multiple times Einstein in his various work situations when he, at the moment of, different discoveries, this and that, and you give a remote viewer this, a trained remote viewer who is proficient in this bilocation technique, and this person becomes Einstein, and they literally are smarter after that session. They literally can do more, feel more, know more. It's really something else. And I've done this myself. This is why I have many hobbies and talents. And I'm always looking, I'm going to start, I've been playing my guitar recently. I think I'm going to go have a conversation with Jim Morrison.
Oh, can I ask?
I'll be better. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask one more question? Okay. So if as humans, we have the ability to remote view into an alien race and they can sense that we are remote viewing into them.
Yes.
Does that pathway go in reverse? Can the aliens remote view into us?
They do all the time. They do all the time.
So could they
And
influence us?
They try to, and sometimes they do. They, okay, so one thing you understand if you become proficient at remote viewing, especially remote viewing alien civilizations, you start to recognize the alien influence in your everyday life. You start sensing them all of the time, especially in certain locations, certain times. You can see how they're trying to interact with everybody on this planet. It's actually quite amazing how much they're trying to influence what we're doing, what we're thinking, how we're approaching different problems. One thing that I have noticed is that there hasn't been, in my experience, a whole lot of malevolent intent with the particular aliens that are trying to influence, I'll say, human society. There is you can sense it and you can see what they're doing. Mostly it centers around us being less destructive, less and what's interesting is they're not big fans of artificial intelligence. I've seen a huge amount of alien interference in that realm, which is really interesting. Maybe they feel that AI will be our downfall. I mean, I kind of agree with them, frankly. Just some of the advances in AI are pretty scary, but you can sense that. You can sense, and oftentimes, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I will feel an alien presence. And, this is from my remote viewing training. I know that there is something happening. I'll go outside. Maybe I'll see something, maybe I won't, but I will generally at that point have a conversation with whatever's there. And I'll tell it, you know what, I'm trying to get some sleep right now. Can you just bug off until later, daytime perhaps, or I'll listen. I'll listen to what the message is. It's interesting when you really apply yourself in remote viewing, it really does take over your life. But I think in a very positive and kind of life affirming way, it makes you realize you are so much more than just, a mind in a body. You are this incredibly complex cosmic individual that can do all kinds of cool things. I mean, we lose sight of that. I recently kind of lost sight of that because I was dealing with my dad's health issues. And when you have to deal with something, whether it's money or health, those are kind of two of the big ones, right? You're stressed out about money, you're stressed out about your health or about a family member's health. Everything in your life feels more difficult, right? And remote viewing is the same way. It can be very hard to access that information when you have all of this other kind of crap whirling around your head. So, that's like Brian can talk about that at length because he has all this Buddhist training. That's essentially the whole basis of that, is that you got to be able to let that stuff be. Just let it be. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Birdie. I'll probably have more questions. Thank you.
Oh yeah, good. I hope you watch my 3-hour wingding there. It's just simple, but you'll like it.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's fine for people to follow up after a question. That's good. And the reactions feature, just to remind people at the bottom where it says reactions, you press on that. Then there's the raise hand feature, and then you can lower your hand when you're done. So we have Sabrina next, and then Laura, and then Marty. Okay, Sabrina, you can turn on the camera if you want. It's optional for the video.
Not looking so great today.
Okay.
Hey, Sabrina.
Hello, how are you? Hello, everybody.
Awesome.
So I had a few questions. I've been interested in this for a while, only because I've done it accidentally a lot of times during meditation.
Yes.
So one of my questions to you, first, let me go into you, right?
Okay.
How is your teaching different from, let's say, the Monroe Institute?
Yeah, the Monroe Institute's super interesting. I have been to the Monroe Institute a couple of times. I have taken their out of body experience classes. They do some things with remote viewing. A lot of the military remote viewers, ex-military remote viewers, have been very involved with the Monroe Institute. What I do is different. I have made myself a student of how the brain works. And I employ a lot of cool full body techniques. One thing that the Monroe Institute and a lot of the military remote viewers, and pretty much all the remote viewers out there, they're working with paper and pens or meditation techniques. But I employ the whole body. This should be a physical, not just a mental exercise. Your body is here for a reason, so let's use it. So that's one of the ways in which what I do is different. My students do a lot of modeling with clay. We build things, we act out things, which helps you to understand what's going on. You may be acting out something that happened if you want to find out something that's going to happen, say in the future, or you want to find out what someone really did, who really shot JFK, right? You have somebody who's remote viewing the killer, the grassy knoll and all that, and you have them act it out, and you'll find their body doing things, unexpected things. It's amazing how much information is stored just in our bodies and how much our bodies are able to relay. So that's one huge difference between what I do and what kind of everyone else is doing out there, including the Monroe Institute. They've kept it in the level of what's up here, but it should be everything, what's all here. It's kind of what I do. Yeah.
And now the next question was in terms of accuracy, like how do you check that?
Okay. This is my pet peeve. I'm almost done with a book about this. So I'm going to get into some philosophical and we're going to get into the weeds here. This is such a great question, Sabrina, because if you look at a lot of, or every other remote viewer out there, honestly, everyone, they all say the same thing. Well, this is accurate, but they got this wrong. They said it was a green car, but it was a red car. They said this, but it was really that. They didn't draw this exactly, or they were wrong, but they got this one right. Over and over and over and over and over again, they talk about accuracy as if what you draw, because they're purely working on what's on the page, is a litmus test for whether this data is real. But one thing that I discovered early on is that you get what you get. That's kind of my mantra. I say it over and over and over again to students, and it takes students a long time to figure this out. But once it clicks, then they truly understand, and their whole abilities jump up like tenfold. So you get what you get. So if you draw something or if you write something, that thing literally is part of what you're remote viewing. It's there. There is no wrong data. It's all correct, but you have to understand your own mind and why you wrote that information down, why you drew that. Maybe because a lot of times you're remote viewing something that most of the time, almost all the time, it's something you've never experienced or seen. Say I give you Göbekli Tepe, right? Ancient megalithic structure. You've never been there. Maybe you've never been to Turkey. Maybe you've never seen it. Maybe you never even heard about it. So if you're going to describe this location, it's going to be really hard to name, but you're going to be in your mind comparing it to things. It's like this, it's like that. And you might draw those things and say these things and write these things. It's like this, it's like that. Maybe something is cold where you're remote viewing something at the South Pole, the McMurdo station. You might draw a refrigerator or a freezer. Well, that's not the target, but it's still correct. It's cold. It's something that's cold. Maybe there's something that's kept there, and it's in a cold location. So you get what you get. So I believe that all information is relevant, and it's up to you, the remote viewer, to start deconstructing every session and to understand why. And the more that you do these deconstructions, I force every student of mine to deconstruct every single piece of data. If they're serious about becoming a remote viewer, you have to deconstruct every single piece and understand, and then you understand how your mind's working. And so the next time you see a freezer, it's a cold location, or the next time you see a red car, that it's not really a red car. It's somebody that's angry and they're moving fast in some way, or they're projecting something that's angry and red, it's complicated. I don't even know if I'm making sense here, but that's how
Yeah.
I approach it. I think every single piece of data is relevant. The second you start telling yourself that that's wrong, but this is right, that was wrong, but this is kind of okay, that is the second your mind stops giving you stuff, because you're telling your mind that it did not provide you with something. And the second that happens, you start shutting down. And people, I have seen amazing, this was back when I was first learning this and first figuring all this out. I saw so many people get into this, be so excited, and just drop out of it after a time because they felt they were terrible. They weren't terrible, they were brilliant. They just didn't understand why their mind was giving them data in a particular fashion. Once you understand how your own mind works, and that relates to Brian's Buddhism too, right? Then you can elevate your own abilities by a zillion fold. You know immediately if you see a cat that it means a particular thing because you had a cat in your childhood and you felt a certain way when you had that cat. So I don't know.
So am I hearing you correctly that some of the symbolism that you're getting, it also refers to your personal life on how you view those things?
Absolutely, because we cannot, when you talk to a person, you're always, if I was going to sit down and have a conversation with you, we were going to have tea, I would be on some level evaluating everything about you based on my own experiences, right? I would say, oh, that's interesting what she's wearing. I would wear something different. Or, we're always evaluating things in the course of a day, always. And it's the same in remote viewing. You can't, it's not like you're getting like a pure feed where you can just regurgitate what an analyst wants to see. You're going to regurgitate yourself. It's always yourself. You're everywhere at once, everywhere, everyone. It's like that movie, Everything Everywhere at Once. You are the universe, and you're experiencing it. It's like what Carl Sagan said. We are, what did he say? I forget what he said. Something about we are the way for the universe to understand itself. I think that's true. And so everything that you come out with in remote viewing is a reflection of yourself, but it's also real. But it is going to be, the more you analyze yourself, the better you'll understand your data. It took me years to understand why I say certain things in a session, why I draw certain things. I have there are some things that show up over and over and over again when I do remote viewing. And I know immediately what it means. It means because it reminds me of something from childhood or a way I feel about a particular thing or what have you, if that makes sense.
Okay. I have more questions, but there's a lot of people waiting, so I'll just get in line again.
Okay.
Yeah, we got 6 hands up. So Laura, you're up next. Here in Vancouver.
Yes.
Woohoo! Hi, Laura.
Hi. So nice to meet you, Bertie. This is fascinating. Talking about the remote healing,
Yes.
it seems I would not want to go into somebody else's body and feel all of their pain and illness. That
Right.
is not something I would want to do. Even if I could perhaps help them, not it's kind of scary, but I am very interested in going deeper into my own body. And I mean, I can through healing meditations kind of remote view parts of my body to see what's happening with that injury, to understand it better, perhaps. But the question would be, how would I then use that to actually enhance healing?
Okay. So say I wanted to remote view my own body right now, and I'm pretty healthy. I don't really have anything big going on, but I do have a big old scratch on my leg because I have a crazy dog. I love him so much, but he is the hound from hell. His name's Django. He's a nut. And he jumped up on me this morning because he was so excited about something. He jumped up and I was wearing shorts and he scratched my leg pretty bad. So that's a good example. So if I remote viewed my own body, you get into the body, whoever's body it is, or your own body, and you sense everything about that injury or that illness. And the first thing that I teach students to do is to first understand how that injury or that state of physical being came to pass. So if it's cancer, you will first remote view, feel it, and remote view, how did this person get that tumor or get this state of cancer? Maybe it's a genetic, maybe there's a big genetic component because it's a familial thing, or perhaps it relates to diet or a chemical exposure or whatever the case may be. And then you start working on remote viewing, you start erasing what caused this situation. And it's a particular set of protocols that I use here. It's way too complicated to get in right now without explaining all the prior stuff you do. But what I've found to be most effective, and I've worked with a lot of different ways. I mean, I've worked on this for almost 30 years. And what works the best is erasing and changing not trying to just fix it, but erasing what caused it. And you change like the whole state of being when you start working on changing what caused it. And of course, a person that you're working on, say, they have to keep up with those changes, say if it is diet related, or if they're continually being exposed to some kind of chemical agent or whatever, they have to agree that they're going to make changes now that you're working on them. And, some people are willing to do that. Some people are not. That's just the human experience, but that's how I do it. So I'm this is actually kind of freaky. I'm working on my, I was just thinking about it and my scar is actually going away. So there you go. I should have taken a picture of it before and after. Yeah. It's amazing. You do it with your own body and you start realizing how much you can affect your own health and, your own life. I'm almost 60 years old and I really want to live to be at least 120. So I'm working towards longevity myself.
Okay. I wonder, I guess that's sufficient then. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Laura. And anyone is welcome to email me questions later. Absolutely. Reach out anytime. I love this stuff. That's what I do.
Okay, thank you. So next we have Jamila, then Lana, then Christopher. So Jamila, you're on.
Hi, everyone. I'm French, so I have this little accent. I hope everybody can understand.
Oh, bonjour.
Bonjour. Yes, actually, I have so much question, but yeah, everybody had questions, so I'm gonna limit about this. But for example, I think when someone do remote viewing is also about the level of consciousness, because I think everybody have a different perception. So everybody's going to see this, the other one's going to see that. So
that's right.
Is it what it is?
Yes. Your own consciousness is what's experiencing this, and it always goes through your own mental filters. So, some people will view different events differently than others. Say you're if you're viewing something from a war, for example, like I'll take World War II. Somebody who is American may view a particular battle with a completely different consciousness, a different flavor than somebody who was on the other side, say somebody who's Japanese or German, who, they may view that thing with horror or, be terrified or feel all kinds of different things than somebody who feels very American patriotic, say. It's really interesting if you're an analyst and you're looking at a lot of people's different sessions, you have to take into account who each of these remote viewers is. You have to know your people so well inside and out, because everyone's perspective is going to be clouded by their own experiences. It's not clouded, it's just how they're relaying it, how they're experiencing it. Their consciousness encompasses not just, you're everywhere at once, but you are also who you are in this lifetime, or perhaps through many lifetimes. You carry some essence with you, and you bring that to the table when you remote view. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
It's good. But also, for example, I heard multiple same question about the healing, because I'm gonna tell you the truth is I already done that, all those whatever you said, but I like to share and hear everybody, you know, whatever they experience. But for example, about healing in the remote viewing, once in my experience, when I have done it, we heal by connecting with the higher self, that is the higher self that actually do the job, and not actually us doing the job, because then we take the will, the free will from the person, if we actually do it ourselves. Is it how you do it?
It's kind of okay. I understand. And when we do remote healing, we become one with the person that we're healing. And we do bring in all kinds of, higher light, love, healing, divine presence, whatever. You have to know the person you're healing first, and always get their consent before you do a remote healing session. And we always find out what their belief system is, because that belief system is extraordinarily powerful. And if they're a Christian, then their belief system may involve, a God presence, who then you can call in. It's all relevant, or they may have a different belief system, and you call in what, but it's all that same energy. It's positive. It's that power. The power of belief is what changes the person.
Someone can also, for example, carrying a memory like from past life, and then even
Yes,
from another dimension, for example, and then
absolutely.
bring back in here on 3D.
Yes, absolutely. There are many people that I've worked with that have trauma from past lives. They even have maybe some fractured memory from something that happened. And we do work on healing that and bringing them to a greater understanding. We remote view why they're having these memories, what actually happened, who they were. And when you share this with them and they get to experience it again, it helps release that trauma, and then it's a good story for them to tell. They carry that with them. It's beautiful. It's really interesting. You can
Yes.
absolutely remote view your past lives, no question.
Okay. And one more. Have you like experienced, for example, like with some beings that actually don't have a very good intention?
Yes. Many times I try not to give those out to new students, but we do sometimes, people that are experienced, we do sometimes remote view. There are a number of, I'll say, alien presences out there. Maybe some have interacted with, maybe some, I've looked at have never come to the planet, but they're still pretty awful people out there. And yeah, you can absolutely remote view them. They usually know that you're remote viewing them. They may try to block you, or they may tell you all kinds of really horrific stuff, or try to influence you. And so that's really something for the more experienced remote viewer to do, that has a lot of different tools and understanding, so they can realize when it's time to shut that down. I've shut down that kind of communication multiple times in the past, because I don't want that energy. I don't want that person in my head. Yeah.
Okay. Like, for example, what I have done is like, like to connect to my higher self, to give me the right intention from the being coming toward me. And because I think it's very important to connect with the purest of ourselves to protect us, because actually they use our belief for our false belief, and then they pretend to be for whatever we carry on ourselves. So that's why I just wanted to know how you do it, and how you, most of your work, how you engage yourself. I just wanted to know that.
Yeah. It's how you're describing it. That makes sense to me. When I remote view an alien race, the very first thing, and I teach this to all students, is you have to evaluate what their intentions are toward you, because you need to know that up front. If it's a bad intention, if it's a new student, I say, shut it down. Let's just move on to something else. If the intentions, you can feel the intentions are healthy for you, then you can probe further and find out what they want to tell you. And experienced remote viewers, I myself am willing to explore the intentions of some pretty malevolent beasts out there, because I want to know what's out there. I'm curious about the universe. None of us are all sunshine and light. We have our dark moments too. And so I'm really interested in other critters out there and how they approach life in this amazing universe. So
yeah, that's true. They're all beautiful, all the big.
that's right.
But the thing is, I think they carry some energy that is not compatible with us, that can
Yes.
cause like heart damage, or an organs can shut down because of the frequency that is not actually good for us. Do you understand? And just
yeah, I understand what you're saying. When I work with students, or more advanced students, I'll say, or experienced remote viewers, we talk a lot about these kinds of things, how to protect yourself when you're looking at different and talking to different, experiencing consciousness of different beings out there. We have a lot of different methods that we use depending on what it is and who it is to protect ourselves and protect our planet too. You don't want to send a signal to some malevolent race out there that's never heard of Earth, right? They might show up.
exactly.
So you got to be careful.
Yeah, I'm gonna let everybody have the answer, the question, because there's too much.
Okay, well,
Email
thank you,
me
Jamila.
anytime. I would appreciate it.
Yeah, good questions. Thank you. And next we have Lana.
Lana, woo!
Hey, Birdie.
Hey, homegirl.
Hey. So the question I have is, of all the targets that you viewed over the years, can you give us an example of one that was extremely shocking or surprising when you viewed it?
Oh, that is such a good question. Oh man, I've been surprised and shocked so many times. I'll talk just briefly about my remote viewing the World Trade Center. Now you have to understand, I remote viewed this in 1998, which was several years before 2001 when it happened. And what I was given, one of the people I was working with in my group gave me the next big terrorist attack in the United States. That was the target. I didn't know. I was going in blind, and I drew this, and I didn't even understand what it was that I described and drew, because I didn't have a frame of reference. It was years before it happened, and we posted it on our website, and like, anyone have any ideas what this means? I described it, and the idea of airplanes ramming into buildings, it just seemed completely weird. I didn't even think those were airplanes that I drew. I thought they were bombs, because you know how bombs have those little, like, ailerons or whatever, little wing type things. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was bombs, because the World Trade Center had been bombed in 1993 in the garage. And I thought that it was going to be another bombing, kind of like that. And like, nobody looked at our website in those days. It was, the internet was still kind of new to most people. People weren't checking things out like they do today. There was no such term as going viral. So it didn't go viral until after the fact, but that was kind of shocking. But I think, let me think for a second. Gosh, I've remote viewed so much crap over the years. Let's see. One thing one of my coolest remote viewing experiences, and it was shocking because it was so incredibly beautiful, was looking at this other off-world civilization. And this was like for a friend of mine. This wasn't an official operational target. It was a friend of mine who was really curious about a particular star system out there. It's one no one here's heard of. It's just some random star system. But this person was absolutely convinced that there was alien life there, because they had had an experience and they hadn't told me this at all ahead of time. I knew nothing. I viewed this blind. I didn't even know their backstory. And this particular star system, they felt that they were visited. They saw a UFO. It was a very unusual looking UFO. It looked like a tube of lipstick, but with the top off, so the lipstick sticking out, like with the pointed edge. And it like had like a rim around the top, and the top thing sticking out like a lipstick sticking out of a tube. And it was up and down vertical. This is what they experienced. They saw the ship and they received a communication, and the beings in that ship, or the ship itself, or who knows what, gave them this information that they came from this particular star system. So my friend gave me that star system to remote view, in what she had written down as any alien civilization, in this particular star system. And I remote viewed. I'm getting goosebumps. I wish you could see. It was the most beautiful, incredible civilization I have ever remote viewed. And I've remote viewed a ton of different civilizations. It was amazing. The colors, the sounds, the music. I tried to recreate that music myself, and I just couldn't. It was so incredibly beautiful. It made my heart sing. I can still hear it in my head, but I can't recreate it because we don't have those sounds here on this planet. And the love, and it was just overwhelming. I literally couldn't stop crying from the sheer beauty of it. And I've since given that to others to remote view, and they all have the same transformative experience. They hear that music, in the smell. It's like every most amazing flower, kind of like lily of the valley. If he even knows what those were, I had those growing up in Massachusetts. It's just like, holy crap, the smell. If you could bottle that, you'd make $1 gazillion in perfume sales. Just everything about that civilization was beautiful. There was literally zero anger, zero envy, zero greed, zero anything malevolent. It was just pure beauty and light. And everybody there was just so excited. They were explorers. Oh man, that's like my favorite remote viewing experience ever.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, this is excellent.
Yeah.
And next we have Christopher's on.
Hey, Christopher. He's going to have a tough question. I know. You're muted, Chris.
Yeah, you're muted, Chris. Got to unmute yourself.
Hi, Birdie.
Hey, Christopher.
When you meet people you like or who you think are interesting, do you ever use remote viewing to learn more about them?
Absolutely never. Never. I never do. I never Google anybody. I've never Googled a single person in my life except for like famous people. You want to learn when an actress's birthday is or who's starring in a movie. Yeah, I'll Google that. I've never Googled or remote viewed a private individual in my entire life. I think people should have their privacy unless they open themselves up to, unless they invite it in. So absolutely never.
I have another question, very different. It's since I have the floor, it's kind of related to a previous question. Is there something you've learned in remote viewing that was interesting about an event that was newsworthy or historic that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, that's a good question. There's so much of that, actually. Let's see. There's so much. Man, newsworthy. Oh gosh. Okay, give me a newsworthy event and I'll tell you if I've remote viewed it, because I'm overwhelmed here with memories.
I'm reluctant to front load the question with with something like that. You did mention Princess Diana and
yeah. Oh, that was a setup. 100%. That woman was killed. That was an assassination, and there is no doubt about it. Princess Diana was assassinated. That car crash was not a natural car crash. It wasn't just the paparazzi chasing her. It was a setup. 100%. That's a very complicated case, and I actually did a big project on that a long time ago. And every remote viewer I've ever given that to gets the same thing, and the royal family did her in, quite frankly. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's awful. She was a wonderful person, and you could really feel her beauty. And she had this inner light. You remote view her and you get this. She was just a wonderful person on the inside. I mean, everyone's a complicated person, right? Nobody's perfect. And of course, she wasn't perfect either, but she really had a lot of inner beauty. A really cool person. And everyone who remote views her feels the same way. They feel like this is somebody I would like to know and like to have in my life. Really cool person. And she was just cut down. It's awful.
Thanks. And while I have the floor,
Now the
Brian,
royal
I think-
family is going to be after me. Just watch.
just going to say, Brian, I think you're doing a beautiful job moderating this, and I'm going to mute now.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan's
Christopher.
amazing. He's amazing.
I could also comment, the Buddha described the deva eye and the deva ear, which is ability to see earthly objects from a distance, or heavenly sights, or hear earthly sounds or heavenly sounds. So that's remote viewing. The Buddha did that himself.
That's absolutely. The Buddha was a fantastic remote viewer. There's no question about that. Anyone who engages in a meditation practice over time, over years, and learns about themselves, they become a remote viewer just naturally. They know things, they can feel things, they hear things. It just happens.
Yeah. Okay, we got Cheryl next. You're on.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi,
Hi.
this is the second remote viewing presentation I've attended, and I'm really very new to this. So my questions are probably not going to be that interesting to everybody else.
I bet it's going to be super interesting. Are you kidding? Every question is interesting.
Okay, so when you said we are the universe, I really
Yes.
resonated to that because I kind of live like that all the time, and it's caused me some problems in day-to-day just getting things done and also just living.
Yeah.
So in the last remote viewing we did, where you gave us three objects to remote view, this was my first exposure to it. I found that I had a lot of trouble getting out of the universe and getting down to the physical. I couldn't see physical things. It's like I was viewing it from a distance, and I was viewing it abstractly.
Oh man.
And-
Cheryl. Okay, I'm going to interrupt you because this is I am so glad you were saying this, because you are bringing up such an awesome point. And I should have mentioned this before and I forgot. Not everybody is a visual remote viewer. People are generally, some people are very, what I'll call a physical remote viewer. They see the target. They literally see what's there. They will, if you give them the president of the United States, they're going to draw that Oval Office and a flag and a seal on the desk and the man himself behind the desk, right? And I am not a physical remote viewer, never been. I am a conceptual remote viewer, and I bet that you are too, Cheryl. Conceptual remote viewers, you're either conceptual, emotional, or physical, one of the three, and all three are incredible remote viewers. There's no right or wrong here. A conceptual remote viewer, they just know what's going on. They may not see it, but they know what's going on. Maybe they get some of the other physical sensations, and they may draw things that look just like the target, but they know on an intuitive level. They feel the universe that way, like you're talking about. That's a conceptual remote viewer. Some people are emotional remote viewers, and they really tap into anything that has a sentience at the site, and they feel everything that those people are feeling. If you gave them the firebombing at Dresden, they wouldn't draw the fire tornadoes. They wouldn't understand. Okay. So you give the firebombing at Dresden, physical remote viewer would draw it. draw those swirling tornadoes of fire and the buildings being destroyed and just the devastation happening there, people being killed. They would draw all this. Conceptual remote viewers would know this is a war scene. There's something really horrible going on. I am sensing that people are doing this and that. And you wouldn't necessarily draw it, but you'd know a lot about it. And emotional remote viewers would feel that horror. They would be like my friend Jim, the remote viewer, they would be screaming in pain and knowing that they're on fire and knowing that they and their families are dying. They would be the ones running through the house and screaming. So everybody is, by and large, most people are a combination of three with one more than the others. So it's not like I never draw the target. I often do, but I know what's going on. I just know it. And some people just feel it and some people just see it. So I don't know if that, okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Continue on.
Oh, no, what I was going to ask you was, how do you get out of the universe and come down to the physical? And you're telling me that that's not necessary.
That is correct. That is not necessary. You are a conceptual remote viewer, guaranteed. I can recognize people instantly by how they talk about this. You're a conceptual remote viewer. So you are the universe and you know what's happening. You don't have to see it. Knowing it is as good as seeing it. It's just different. And so so I'm going to be teaching a 5-day class in August. And the reason I just want to have a small class. And the reason I'm teaching it is because I am ready now to have another operational group. I used to have an operational group 2 decades ago. And then I got out of public life because I was being harassed like you can't believe from the government. I even had a big name who everybody here knows, I guarantee it. I was in a helicopter with this man and he threatened to push me out of the helicopter. I kid you not. I'm not going to say who it was. Christopher knows who it was because I've told him this story. But anyway, so I got out of it because I was being harassed. My kids' lives were being threatened. It was an awful, awful time, but I kept remote viewing and kept working on it. And now I'm ready to have an operational group again. So I want to get a group of remote viewers together, and I want all 3 kinds. You need the emotional viewers because you need to know what people were feeling or what the aliens are feeling, right? You need to know what things look like. So you need the physical viewers and you need the conceptual viewers to understand what the hell's going on at the site. So you need all 3 to do a proper analysis and to really get everything that's going on there. So I'm trying to build operational groups. I'm teaching a class in August, and if any of y'all are interested, it's going to be here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I guarantee you will have bilocation experiences. You will be there. You will feel it. You will communicate with aliens. You will get messages. You will do remote healing. I'm even going to teach my special lottery techniques. So
Very cool.
yeah. So if anyone wants to come to that, I can't do it online. This has to be in person. But if anyone's interested in joining my operational group, it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. You don't have to live in Albuquerque to be a part of the operational group. You can live anywhere, but I have to train you in person. So, and if anyone lives somewhere else and they'd like for me to come out and visit and train a group of their friends, you can talk to me about that too. I'm open to that.
Well, I actually live in Santa Fe, but
Oh, Cheryl, perfect.
I don't have a lot of money and I have no car, so my options are really limited.
Well, this is a big fault of mine. I never charge anything for anything. All the events in our group are always been for free. And this 5-day class, I am only charging what it's going to cost me in terms of materials. And I'm renting a venue. I know where it's going to be. It's going to be amazing. So I'm just going to charge what it costs me, because I'm getting something out of this too. I get to put 30 years of practice and ideas and see it come alive in front of me. So that's worth something to me. That's worth having everyone there.
Well, blame you for charging. I think you should. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that's what I'm doing. That's what I always do. It's my nature. So cost should not be a barrier. And maybe some other people, maybe anyone listening, we are a nonprofit organization and we do accept donations.
How much is it?
Feed the bird. Well, I haven't figured out the cost yet because I have to make arrangements. I want to do it at this really beautiful meditation center that's on the Rio Grande. on Rio Grande Boulevard, which is right across the from the Bosque, so we can take breaks and walk across and walk into the woods there by the river. And it's a really beautiful meditation center, and they have rooms, and I've spoken with them before. It's not that much money. I just have to make arrangements for it for the 5 days. And then once I know how much they're going to charge me, then I know. And once I know how many people want to attend, I want to accept up to 20 students, but no more than 20. Then I'll know how much it's going to cost. But it should be affordable for everyone. I did have another potential student ask if she could, when I figure out the cost, if she could make payment arrangements, and I did tell her yes. So there's always that option.
Okay,
And
that might be possible then.
yeah.
So
I know I'm a fool for doing it for nothing, but
no, I do everything.
that's who I am. And I want to have an operational group. You guys are going to work for me afterwards. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to, and I think most people are going to want to, because it's so wicked cool. It's like the coolest thing you'll ever do. And we're going to do operational stuff. I get calls all the time from people who have tracked me down, who were like, you know what, law enforcement all the time, law enforcement looking for, I've found bodies, found a body in the Anzo Borrego Desert. I've found bodies in other places. I've found different clues that the police may have missed. I tracked a really funny story. I think I was going to mention this earlier when we were talking about remote healing. So there was there's this guy, he's a famous, I mean, in certain circles, right, roller coaster developer. And he had a partner. The partner absconded with like $10 million. I forget the amount. It was like $12 million or something, and ran off, embezzled this money and disappeared. And so the roller coaster developer, after working with the police for a couple of years, couldn't find this guy, couldn't find the money. He got desperate enough to call me. So he called me, and anybody wanted to know. He didn't believe in remote viewing necessarily, but he was so desperate. So he's like, how can you prove to me that this works? And I said, okay, I'll call you tomorrow. And the next day I called him and I said, you recently had food poisoning and you have a problem with your kidneys. And he about fell over because both of those things were true. He had just gotten over food poisoning from eating some bad sushi, and he had a kidney disease. And there was no way I could have known this wasn't on the internet. I just did a remote diagnostic session. I had gotten his permission to remote view him because he wanted me to tell him something that I wouldn't know. And so he hired me. And so I tracked this guy down to Australia, to Sydney, and he flew me out to Sydney. And I told him exactly where this guy was. We found him and we had a meeting with them. And then I creeped the guy out by remote viewing him then and there, and told him some stuff that I shouldn't know. And they came to some kind of financial agreement. But anyway, that was a pretty exciting case.
Wow.
Yeah, it's what I do. And all of you guys can do it too. I want to do these kinds of projects again. And it takes a group. You can't be one conceptual viewer. I need my friends to help me out. And I don't want to just do law enforcement stuff. I want to figure out what is going on in this universe. I want to figure out what aliens are visiting us and why are they here? I want to answer all of these questions. That is why I am starting this operational group, to have a group of people who are adept at alien communication, who can relay information to different alien groups out there and get information, find out what's coming. Why is the government actually pushing for disclosure now? I think that that's very suspect, and I have my theories about it because I remote viewed it. But anyway, that's for another time. But I would like anyone here who's interested to join me in this incredible journey. It would be super fun. And if we make any money off of it, you guys get paid. That's how it works. So
for the video, we can put your email. Do you want your email in the description of the video?
Yeah, absolutely.
So people can reach you. Okay.
Yeah, or they can got a contact form on my website. People can fill that out, and there's a message section. That's probably better than sticking my email up there. So yeah, just put my website up, and on the About Us section, there's a contact form. People can send me a message and learn more about remote viewing and all that. But hey, we still have got 40 minutes to go. So let's keep with the questions, guys.
We can go over time if it's okay with you, Birdie. Yeah. Did you have a follow-up question there, Cheryl?
Just asking her what her website was.
It is ABQ for Albuquerque, ABQ, UFOS, UFOs, abqufos.com. It's also abqufos.org, which I recently acquired since we have, we're now officially a nonprofit. So either one works, goes to the same place. That's our website. And you can see all of our upcoming events. We have, and I have the 5-day class listed so you can see the dates. And it tells you a little bit more about what we're going to be covering in that class under events. And we are on our summer break right now. We normally have 5 to 10 events a month, but we are on summer break. So we only have 6 events over the next 6 weeks. I know that sounds like a lot, right? We're pretty active, and all of our events upcoming are all in-person events for people in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. But we generally do have a lot of Zooms and YouTube live streams and things like that, where anyone in the world can join in and participate. So do keep your eye on us and follow what we're doing, because we have some exciting things. Oh, and I should actually pimp this out too. In April 2025, the first weekend of April, 4th, 5th, and 6th, we are holding our very first conference. It's called Alien Explorations Conference. And we've got super duper duper big names coming. Our website is going to be up within a week or two, or just getting in the speaker bios and photos now. One of our group members, Rose Eckhoff, who is incredible. I wish she were here right now. She's amazing. She is our conference chairwoman. She has been making all of these incredible provisions for the conference. It's going to be held at an auditorium at the University of New Mexico. We already have an agreement with them. And it's going to be all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and Friday night is a Meet the Speakers event. It's going to be super exciting. So do just keep an eye on our website, and you'll see the link to the conference once we formally announce. We're just getting the speaker stuff in now. So anyway, all sorts of cool stuff on the horizon.
Okay, we had Mary Poling want to raise her hand. Are you there,
Mary?
You can unmute your mic.
Mute.
There she is.
Hey, Mary, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I wouldn't miss one of your YouTubes or Zoom calls. I'm just like totally hooked.
Mary's amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet. Years and years ago, when I studied deep meditation for a 3-month long period on weekends, every Saturday and Sunday, it was to get down to the deeper levels. And when that started opening up other things, I think that's where I got into areas that you talk about, but I didn't know that's what they were. And I got into remote healing. And I was thinking about an experience after you described that civilization that was like a lipstick tube.
Yes.
I was going through a very difficult period where my business partner was having an affair with one of our employees, and we were separated at the time. And I had been studying Tai Chi with a Tai Chi master, and it got me into a place as well as meditation. I was driving home from Tai Chi, and I was just feeling so lost and hurt and just like worthless. And I got home and I did a deep meditation. And all of a sudden, and I always do the same prayer, all those who serve the highest light in me and only the highest light, you're invited for healing or counseling. And I would channel on a keyboard and channel the messages. But this time I just sat in bed and my pets were around me and I was doing a deep meditation. And all of a sudden, it was like what you described. I heard these voices, but it was not like normal. And they were singing. It was like a choir, but it was something I couldn't describe. And it was so beautiful and loving and just incredible. They sang this song to me about how wonderful I was and how how full of love, and they had so much love for me. And it was a choir, and they sang for about 4 or 5 minutes. And all I could think the whole time was human. It was like, God, I wish I could record this. You know, I want to hear it again. So I'm wondering, all those years I channeled and did remote viewing before my last back injury, which kind of stopped everything. Was that aliens? Was it angels? Was it my spirit guides? How do you know who is communicating with you?
Well, one thing that you could do is remote view that experience and remote view the origination of it, where it came from, because it might have been spirit guides or some kind of, there's all kinds of entities out there, not just aliens and humans. There's all kinds of interesting sentient stuff out there. And so you could absolutely remote view where that came from. Maybe it was alien, maybe it was a spirit guide, or maybe it was you in the past or the future. It could be all kinds of things.
Wow. And so do you know, when you're doing these remote viewings, are you assisted by alien beings and seeing this, or is it within you?
It's within me. We're everywhere at once. We are everything and everywhere at once. So you are already the universe, and you're just choosing to focus on any particular moment in the past or the present or the future, off planet, on planet, other dimension, heaven, whatever you want to look at, you can look at. And it's just it's part of who you are. And we forget that. We think that we are these disconnected beings in a body on a planet, and that it requires great effort to experience something else, but that's not actually the case. We are way more than just a brain and a body. We are everything at once, and it's you just have to experience it and the more you do, the more you understand it, and the more you understand it, the more you can do. It just builds on itself over and over. Yeah.
So in remote viewing, do you start out inside of yourself going, I want to see, how do you, because when I used to channel and do remote healing for people, I'd get visions, and the other lady talking to you didn't get visions. She got senses, but I would get visions. That's how I'd see.
You're probably a physical remote viewer. So what I do when I'm teaching students, I always teach students giving them, I give them things blind, which means they don't know what they're viewing. And it just makes it easier for them to understand what they're doing is real. Because if you tell them ahead of time, okay, you're going to remote view Mount Rushmore, well, everyone's going to draw a mountain with 4 faces on it, right? And it's really hard to get your left brain that wants to make it perfect away from your right brain that is willing to give you the real information. So you do it blind. You don't tell them anything. You just say, okay, we're going to remote view something. And then you go through all of the various things that we do. And at the end, then they've got all this stuff they've produced, whether it's on paper or they've made a model or what have you. I do a lot of different kinds of techniques. And then at the end, then you let them know what it was. And a lot of times, if it's something that is in like the cultural vernacular, so, like Mount Rushmore, Niagara Falls, a lot of times the students will just guess it. They're like, oh, is this Niagara Falls? There's a big old waterfall here, A lot of times they'll guess it if it's something that is iconic in some way. But a lot of times they won't, because especially when I'm teaching, I try to give really surprising stuff that nobody in a million years they couldn't possibly guess. They've never heard of it for one, maybe, or it's just something really strange or beautiful or wonderful or whatever. Just cool stuff.
Well, I'm going to let you go because I know there are a bunch of people waiting in line, right?
Thanks, Mary. Thank you.
But I want to say I would love with all my heart and soul to be at your training. But physically, I don't think I could last, because I have to lay down, pain and all that. So I still want to learn. And I'm here. I'm going to watch that 3-hour training you have online once a week. I'm going to check it out and do it. But I'm signed up to be one of your people. If I can do this on my own and in little short bits, but it sounds like it's better if people can go for a very intensive, long training to really get it down.
Right. Yeah. Well, the 3-hour thing I have online is just a modified version of the military's method. So it's not the actual method I use today, but I wanted to give people kind of a historical context and a taste of like basic remote viewing. And it's still good. It's still good information. And I do talk about how you get what you get and all this other kind of stuff in there. And it's still fun to do. I recommend everyone watch that because it's good to have that kind of background. But yeah, the way I teach it in my own personal methodology is very intense. It takes 5 full days, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. all day. We do take breaks, many breaks, and it is exhausting and it makes you so hungry. It's insane. You lose weight if you remote view a lot. That's why I'm very slender. Seriously, it's why I weigh 120 pounds at 5'7". It's because I remote view all the time and it burns a lot of calories. Your brain uses more calories than any muscle group in your whole body, and remote viewing uses a lot of calories. So it's a good diet. And we will have tons of snacks available at the class, really yummy, super yummy, healthy food, big proponent of healthy foods. So it's good. But yeah, it is intensive. It's like nothing you've ever done. It will change your life. It'll give you a new perspective on so many different kinds of things. It'll open up all these possibilities to you. You can remote view things like, what should I do for a career? Like, say you feel stuck. You don't want to be a teacher anymore, or you're tired of being a salesperson or whatever. You can remote view, what is the best possible career for me? And it'll tell you. You can look at all kinds of things. You can look at really cool stuff like Brian. You can look at the moment that the Buddha achieved enlightenment. I give that out all the time. It's so incredible. And people then experience what the Buddha did in that moment. It's amazing. You can look at what is the one thing that I am here to learn in this lifetime. That one changes people's lives. I've been teaching this couple online for 2 years. I met them in Roswell at the Roswell UFO Festival. I met Eric and Shannon. I met Eric at the Roswell UFO Festival a couple years ago. We happened to be standing in line waiting to get into the UFO museum. And we just started talking about stuff. And he was really interesting. He's a PhD in neurobiology, really interesting guy. And I invited him to come up and hang out with us in Albuquerque because he was coming to Albuquerque anyway. He lives in California. He came up and stayed with us for a couple of days. And we were just sitting around the table and he's like, did you ever hear of remote viewing? Did you ever hear of the Farsight Institute? And I just died laughing because that's like, oh yeah, I know a little bit about that. But anyway, so he wanted to learn. So I've been teaching him online, and it's hard to teach somebody online. And he's going to come to the class. But he's gotten to be so good, even with just online instruction. It's taken a lot of online instruction. We do like Zoom calls, and his girlfriend has been learning too, and he's amazing. He's going to be fantastic, but he needs some in-person instruction to get over those last few hurdles. But I've given him, what is the lesson you need most to learn in this lifetime? And that was transformative for him. That changed his life, literally changed his life. So you can use it as a tool for self-exploration. You don't have to answer the big questions in the universe. You can just answer the big questions for yourself, in other words. Long way of saying that.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yes, thank you, Bertie. This is going great. There's 29 of us. So next we have Brad and Fran. They haven't spoken yet. So Brad, you're on from Texas.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Bertie. Thank you. I'm going to just go right into the question. You'd mentioned that your intro, remote viewing the future.
Yes.
Is that, I have a two-parter, so there'll be a follow-up. Is that the same as precognition, or is there a difference?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The future is really an interesting thing to remote view. And there's a lot of theories about what's going on there and questions about whether the future is fixed or not, whether there is probabilistic or fixed. And from my experience and looking at the future, I think that there are some things in the future that are fixed because of the weight of the past, because of events that have led up to what's going to happen. Those things are, there are things in the future, and you can tell when you become proficient at remote viewing, you can tell what in the future is fixed. You feel it. You're like, okay, this is going to happen no matter what. There's no changing this. And there are some events like that coming up, which are really interesting. But that's not for today. But anyway, we'll talk about it in the class. Really interesting stuff. And then there are some things, and you can feel like almost like currents or eddies around them when you remote view them, and you feel like this is a possibility, but it could also go this way or that way. And so some things I think are probably probabilistic. It's ridiculous, but there you go. Probably probabilistic, and some things are fixed. And but it is precognition. And I had written this really funny article a long time ago. It's not online anymore, but it's gonna be in an addendum to my new book that's going to be coming out on remote viewing. But I don't know if anyone saw the movie Minority Report, which is so I had called this essay "My Department of Pre-Crime," because that's essentially what you're doing as a remote viewer. You're able to like guess what's going to happen, and we don't want to get to a point in the future where we are using probabilistic futures to incarcerate people, right? But I could see that happening. I could see Minority Report becoming kind of a realish thing. It's creepy.
Yeah, well, yeah, AI is already using
that is correct.
Predictive analysis for human behavior.
Exactly.
My follow-up is, as far as the accuracy goes, when you have a set task, is the accuracy better or do you even do this where you have remote viewers work in a group setting?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Now, see, I'm going to go back to you get what you get. I believe every session is 100% accurate. I don't believe anyone ever gets a piece of data that is wrong. It is a question of understanding why the person got that piece of data. But your question about being together in a group, yes, that does make the data stronger. And people have a deeper experience if a group of people are remote viewing the same thing at the same time. Absolutely. There's no question about that. So in a classroom setting, this works very well for getting people over the initial humps of belief and acceptance in their own abilities. So you have a whole group, and I always give at the beginning, give everyone the same thing, blind, they don't know what they're getting, basic things at the beginning, because they're easy to analyze, more complex things as the class goes on, because then they start understanding the types of data that they get. And I try to identify within the first session, which I almost 100% of the time can do, what kind of remote viewer they are. And I let them know, because I don't want people to get frustrated because Bob is drawing the target perfectly and Margie is not able to draw it, but she's describing things that are there. I don't want Margie to feel bad seeing Bob's drawings. I don't want Bob to feel bad seeing Margie's descriptions. So it's really important to let people know what kind of viewer they are. But in a group setting, everybody has a better time for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Good question. Good answer. Okay, yeah. Fran, you're on next. Fran.
Hey, Fran.
Hey, I just have some questions because I'm a little bit new to all this kind of stuff.
Do you want your camera at all? Do you want to?
Oh, here. Hang on.
It's good for the video. It's nice to see the guests.
Okay. Okay, are you getting me on there? Wait. I think maybe I can do it. There I am. Okay, now
no, it's not there yet. You had it for a second.
There
you go. Yeah.
There you go. Look how beautiful you are.
Well, thank you. You're a sweetheart. But my questions, my son, I guess, has been trying to get me involved in doing things and meditation. I'm very ADHD. Okay, so I probably have never meditated because I sit down and I think this and then, oh, let's go here. You know, just like a squirrel, there's a dog. Look at that cat. Isn't it pretty, you know? And I mean, I'm just everywhere, everywhere.
Okay, Fran,
When
I
I'm
have
excited,
I have ADHD. I've had it my whole life. I didn't even know what it was until the past few years. And I realized that, oh, that's why I can't focus on anything. I honestly believe, and just from experience working with literally thousands of people with ADHD make the absolute best remote viewers because they don't get fixated on things. They're always willing to look at the next shiny thing, right? So
okay.
honest to God, people with ADHD, I am so happy when they're in a class I teach because I know they're going to excel. And that's the truth. Some people come to the class and they've had years of meditation practice and they're wonderful meditators. Those are the people that I actually find the most difficult to teach because they already have preconceived notions about what they're doing and what they're getting. And you have to break down some barriers there because they come in believing with a strong belief system in their own practice. And this is a little different than meditation practice, although it can incorporate a meditation practice, but you don't have to be a meditator to be a wonderful remote viewer. In fact, it can be a hindrance at times. It's like one of these things, there's a balance here, but don't worry, you'd be awesome.
That's great. I have tried to meditate and it's like, you know, either I'm everywhere or I fall asleep.
Yeah,
you know,
that's okay.
just,
Falling asleep is a type of meditation. It absolutely is. There's nothing more beautiful.
But you don't remember
being
anything if you
asleep.
fall asleep. So then my other observation is sometimes I've just come to the realization that I am part of the universe and
Yes.
the universe is me. So whenever I'm asking my guides or my higher self for whatever it is that I want to know about or hear from, that's just my higher self talking to me, talking back to me. You know, it's not like it's some kind of crazy guy out there in the sky or woman in the sky that's trying to manipulate me. It's me. So I just thought that was really pretty, you know.
Yeah.
It's me talking to me, you know, or reassuring me or whatever it is that I need to know. So
Yeah.
that's nice to know because like I said, I start something and then I get distracted, you know? So that's good to know.
Yeah, I found that people that are neurodivergent, people on the autism spectrum, people with ADHD, they absolutely make the best remote viewers. They really, really do because they are already thinking and using different kinds of brain patterns. They have a bigger delineation between their left and right brains. They're more easily able to disregard the left brain and all of its incessant chatter and focus on some of the more creative things. It's really kind of an interesting thing, but that's just working with thousands of people. That's what I found. And being one of them myself and a neurodivergent person. Absolutely. I could never hold a real job. That's why I've been entrepreneurial my whole life, but hey, I'm a great remote viewer.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful then. So I don't really need to learn about meditation before I show up. I just need to show up, right?
You just need to show up. I guarantee, I swear, I have never, ever, ever, ever once in thousands upon thousands of people on this fine planet ever had a student that did not have an incredible experience and absolutely believe they're a remote viewer at the end. Never, never.
Okay.
Never.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Fran.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Fran. And next we got Laura and then Sabrina. You're on, Laura.
There we go. Thank you. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place, Birdie, that you got to experience.
Yes.
I want to go there. So does it have a name? And what was it that brought you to that particular experience?
It was a friend of mine that had this UFO encounter with the lipstick shaped UFO.
Oh.
And in the beings or the craft itself, she didn't see any beings, but she received a message when she saw this. It was in her backyard. And she received this message that they were from this particular star system. And so I had said that for her birthday present, I would remote view anything that she wanted. And she had never told me about this experience. She never told anybody about it. And so she had me remote view where that lipstick was from, where that lipstick UFO was from. And that's
how
I don't know what the name was. I don't know. It's just I know what star system it is and all this. I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to be doing a big project on this when I get my operational group going, because I want to learn more about this civilization. I think that that there's something important there. I felt that when I remote viewed it, that there's something essential, and that's probably why they were visiting. There's something essential here, something that we humans need to know, and something we can connect with. And so I'm going to be doing a big project. So yeah.
If I simply wanted badly enough to go there, I'd sort of made the suggestion and just sort of attempted and say, you know, I'm not exactly sure where you are, but I want to go to this very, very high, beautiful, beautiful place.
All you have to do is say, I want to remote view that thing that Birdie was talking about. That's it. Boom. You'll be there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura.
Okay, and Sabrina's next. Last one with her hand up. Here we go.
Hello again, Birdie.
Hi, Sabrina.
I had a question about staying out of the radar of those that were bothering you.
Yeah.
That's what has made me nervous about doing it. And because I was considering originally the Monroe Institute.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, I don't want to be in that radar. So can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think that the world has changed so much and attitudes have changed, governments changed. There's more openness now to all of these different kinds of things. There are a lot of scientists now studying consciousness, especially with regard to the UFO/UAP phenomenon. We've got scientists such as Dr. Gary Nolan talking about how important consciousness is in this space, and others. And I don't think that it's as big a concern as it was 30 years ago. Almost 30 years ago, I was absolutely vilified, you know, by the government for doing these kinds of things, threatened. My family was threatened. I had government vans parked out front of my house night and day, 24/7 for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. It was very intense. And I have been kind of just slowly tipping my toes back in the water here, and I haven't had any problems. And I don't feel it. I would feel it as remote view, long-term remote viewer. I would feel if there was some pushback, and I am not feeling that pushback anymore. I think that we're reaching a point where these kinds of skills are going to be super important in the future when we have more open contact, once disclosure, you know, more formal disclosure happens. I think that people who have these skills are going to be highly important in the next phase of our human evolution, you know. And so I don't feel that I just don't feel that that's the same problem that it was that long ago. Or I think we've reached a new era, and these are areas where people can explore and not be vilified. Now, am I going to do a project looking at secret things that the government's doing right now? Probably not. I mean, I am going to be careful about what I'm looking at. I think it's totally fine to look at alien civilizations, find out what they're doing. I am not going to look and find out where certain government things are happening, because I think that's where you'll get into some trouble. So I'm going to leave those guys to their business and work on really cool stuff that I believe can help our entire human family, you know, raise our own conscious evolution and understand each other better, have a more beautiful, productive, glorious, love-filled, light-filled life, because that's should be the hope for everybody. And that's what I would like to work toward. So that's where my attention is going to be on beautiful and cool things.
Yeah, I like that. Just one in those lines. Are they able to know, perceive, or do they have a device to know if somebody's remote viewing a particular space that they don't want anybody there?
Yeah, they have you know, the government said that they stopped their remote viewing program back in 1995. They're not doing it anymore. Ha 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 ha. Of course, they're still doing it. Those guys all reach retirement age, which is why they disclosed it at that point. But they have a whole, it's been ongoing. They've got a big secret program. They know if you're remote viewing something you shouldn't be. They've got remote viewers counter remote viewing. They've got remote viewing wars going on. It's pretty amazing, all these different kinds of things that the government's doing. And I used to be super into that. I wanted to find out what those, I was going to use a bad word there, what those goobers were doing, but nah, I don't care anymore. Yeah. Let them be men, men, let them be men and do their thing. And I am going to work on elevating our own human existence and looking at really cool, beautiful things and helping people along the way, do some law enforcement work, find people that are missing, help give families some closure, maybe look for some missing treasures. There's some cool treasures out there I've got my eye on that I would like to find, stuff like that. I think that just doing fun, cool, beautiful things and exploring the potential that we have as human beings to connect with our fellow cosmic citizens out there. I really want to have a relationship with some of the more beautiful beings out there and learn from them and have them learn from us, because we may be puny and small, but we still have a lot to offer this universe. So I think that there's a fair exchange that can happen.
And now I have a questions on dreams.
Yeah.
And how does, because I know I heard somebody a dream influencing, but that's not necessarily what I'm interested in, right? But there's actually things you can do in your dreams. I mean, because I've used to, and I don't know why it all stopped, but I used to be able to just like be in another planet, wake up, go to the bathroom, and then go back into the dream again.
Sure.
And just continue what I was doing.
Right. Well, nobody knows what dreams are, right? There's still a big mystery, even to science. I mean, there's all these different theories about what we're doing. We're processing information, blah, 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 but nobody really knows. Maybe it is a whole nother universe that we're living in when we sleep. I don't know what dreams are exactly. You can absolutely remote view dreams you've had to find meaning in it and things like that. It's something I haven't done a lot of, but you can absolutely use remote viewing to investigate any question that you have, whether it's about dreams or about your future or about your past or about your dog. Dogs are cool to remote view. Oh my gosh, they're so cool. They're beautiful inside and out, and they have got like the most amazing minds. They're primitive and complicated all at once. Dogs are really, I'm a big dog person. Dogs are really cool. And a bird person. I got parrots. So a parrot, I have one parrot, African gray.
Okay. Because I used to, so I used to communicate with ETs. And feel them around. I don't really feel them anymore, but who was it that was talking about meditation? It took me 2 years before I did sleep.
Yeah.
So don't give up.
You can always, in remote viewing, you can always contact any alien life form that you have interacted with in the past. I've had my own UFO experiences. We didn't get a chance to get into that today, but those experiences you can relive through remote viewing and find out more and more and more, have real conversations with the beings that decided to visit you. You can have real conversations, find out who they are, what they're up to, why you, why do they want to visit you? And you might find out that you're special in some way, that they really wanted to see you particular, or you might find that you were just in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the wrong time, or whatever your perspective is. It's fascinating stuff, everybody.
Now, when are you doing the class?
The class is August 21st, which is a Wednesday, and it will go 8 to 6 for 5 days. Last day is Sunday, the 25th. And on the Saturday night, we're all going to go out to dinner somewhere, and you guys, all the students, get to pick something secret away from me something for me to remote view blind for them, and I'll do it in public at a restaurant.
So I would love to attend that, really.
Yeah. So just, you know,
I'm on the other side.
drop me a note, and in like in a couple of weeks, around the first week of July, because I'm waiting to see like how many people are interested, and then I can book the space. I know what biggest space. I don't want any more than 20 people. That's the maximum. But if I only have like 8 or 10 people interested, then that helps me determine the space I need. And then I'll book the space, let everybody know what their portion of everything's going to cost, and people can pay over time or pay it up. Hopefully most people can pay it up front, because I have to pay it up front, right?
Now, are you hoping to get a space where there's also rooms?
Well, the place that I'm going to book is a meditation center. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it does not have rooms, but there's lots of rooms all over Albuquerque. I can send hotel lists if you're coming from out of town. And I've got a really great list of hotels that we've already come up with for our conference next spring. So I can send everybody that list. And if you're coming from out of town.
Okay. Yeah, because I would have.
I have a little house. Otherwise, I'd let everyone stay here, but my house is really small.
Yeah, hopefully if it's been within walking distance to where, the event is happening, that would be my thing. But yeah, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we can work it out.
Thank you for your answers. And
yeah, thanks, Sabrina. Yeah, thank you, everybody. And feel free, everybody, contact me with any of your questions, your thoughts, your comments, whatever you want to ask. I can't promise I will answer you right away, because I'm in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff right now. I had some family stuff going on I'm still working on, but I will get to you, I promise. And if you're interested in the class, let me know. I'll put you on the list, and I'll give you an update when all the arrangements have been made, and you can let me know for sure or not if you're going to be in the class. And we're going to have an absolutely remarkable time. And if you want to see the 3-hour like online thing I did for the group, just drop me a note and I'll send you a link to it. And it's on my StreamYard account. You can view it at any time, and you can watch it over and over if you like.
Just one last question. What are the possibilities of doing something with the remote viewing?
Like what do you mean, something with remote viewing?
Like, I don't know, career, something, like
oh, well,
turning it into something, besides personal use.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can find there's people that teach remote viewing out there. There are people that do remote healing for others. There's all kinds of opportunities. You just have to be an entrepreneurial person if you want to turn this into some kind of career. And you have to see how well you develop your abilities, and how well the big thing is how well you understand yourself. That's the big question, how well you understand yourself. And yeah, so there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I've got a question about famous remote viewer Marie Orsich from the Germans in World War II. She supposedly remote viewed the Aldebaran star system like 65 light years away.
Yes.
But there's some discussion on the internet that maybe she never existed. She was first mentioned in a book in 1960, Morning Magicians, and just a few photographs of her, which look kind of like 1960s style. So I wonder, that would be something to remote view, whether she actually existed or not.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know. I've
don't
never
know.
looked into that. I've heard those stories too, and I've never looked into it. That's a good question, Brian. I'm going to add that to my list. Things to look at in the future for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know either. Okay,
Yeah.
Jamila, she's got her hand up.
Hey, Jamila.
Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. So I like it when you say, for example, like to know yourself, because this is the actual goal, because I think we are like unconsciously interfered. You understand? And we have interference that we are, how do I say this, do things, and especially coming from us, but can be also this is something that an entity that would like experience the human experience to actually, live through the human things that then they cannot do. For example, that is very interesting what you just said, because I have been working on that with my sister, because she's also on that thing. But yes, I like what you said, and I just wanted to.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that should be our goal in our whole life, is to understand ourselves and
Yeah,
who we
yeah.
are in relation to everything around us. And
Yeah.
remote viewing is a wonderful tool for that. So
Yes, because I think the people that have the sensibility, it's a very important to centralize himself and analyze himself more on the inside, because whatever is inside, it's outside of yourself.
right.
And if the work is not done on the inside, you definitely going to experience what actually you are feeling, your emotion, and
Right.
everything that is the person is carrying. With my accent, but yeah, yes, this is what I wanted to say. But also, for an example, when you talk about create a group, this is what you said: create a group to work on some project. Are you selective about this?
Well, to a degree, I want people who want to be in a group and who understand what the work really entails, people who are willing to self-examine and to learn more about themselves and their data so that they can be better remote viewers. And so I'll be a little bit selective. If I think someone isn't a good fit, I'll be honest with them. And they have to be able to work with other people. And, so there, yeah, a little bit, but generally people kind of self-select themselves in or out of groups like this, I think. So I think that anyone is welcome to take the class. You don't have to be interested in being part of an operational group. You can just take the class if you just want to learn how to remote view and have an incredible experience. And if you don't have to do anything after that, there's no expectations whatsoever. But I am hoping that there's at least a few people that take the class that think, holy cow, this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced, and I want to keep doing it. I hope there's a few of those. So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I love what I have done. It was amazing. It was some experience. Everything I had lived, it was an experience.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for sharing everything what you said. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just want to say, I know that there was been a chat going on the side, and I've been trying to be present and listening and answering questions. So I was not able to read all the chat. So if you have questions that you posted in the chat, please email them to me and I will answer them. It might take me a few days, but I will get there. So thank you.
Also, Christopher had his hand up earlier. Sometimes these things time out. So I just want to ask Christopher, do you want to chime in?
I just wanted to fill in the time, but I don't think it's necessary anymore.
Oh, well, we can go a bit further.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I actually do need to use the ladies' room because I did have a lot of water.
Unless you want to take a break and come back, that's fine too.
I actually have stuff I have to do this afternoon. So
okay. Yeah, we did plan for 2 hours.
Yeah, this was wonderful, wonderful. I enjoyed speaking with everybody here, and I hope you learned a thing or two. Maybe you learned that I'm a little crazy, and that is an absolutely wonderful thing to learn because I am. So I love
Brian,
all
did
of
you
you
put her
with all my
did
heart.
you put her contact stuff in the chat?
No.
Okay.
Here, I can do this right now. Here's my email. I'm putting this in the chat right now.
But I think it's right on the meetup itself.
It is. Yeah, everything.
This meetup has it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Thank you.
But Bertie, we'd like to have you back to talk about your UFO ET
Oh yeah.
experiences
Oh
since
my
your childhood.
God. That's like a whole nother can of worms there.
Yeah,
I
we'd
got all
love
kinds
to.
of stuff to say about that.
Yeah, we should book another time for you. I'll contact you later and get you back. This has been excellent. We had about 30 people, lots of really good questions and discussion. You're really shining bright, Bertie. This has been unexpected success.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it, and tell your friends to come to the next one. And if you're interested in whatever, or just want to ask me a question, or even just send me a snarky email, go for it. Okay, I love you all very much.
Yeah, people can unmute their mics and give her a little clap, a little applause. Thank you, Bertie.
Thank you, Bertie. Appreciate it.
Clapping for you guys.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, and good crowd. Thanks for
Thank you.
everyone coming too. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
See y'all.
Really, really.